Well, Tim, here we are once again. Harcourts episode 4.
We're back.
I know. Oh, sorry, 4, because I believe this time, last time you've actually loaded us up to video, which is
We're on the video, so I've put the makeup on tonight, so I'm all good to go.
I haven't put any Brill cream on.
I know.
Sorry, I haven't even painted the hair on.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sure you'll be fine. But yes, we're on YouTube. We'll start uploading the video to Facebook, so gives people a different viewing experience if they wish.
If they really want to see that we're real, I suppose that we're not an animated GIF.
Yes.
So like
and we've had some really good feedback, Mark. We have tapped in to our underground market, shall I say.
We certainly have. It's actually quite interesting that we're getting feedback through, which is actually really great, because it gives us an idea of what people like.
Well, a big shout out to the miners of Ballarat. That's what I say. Right. The underground miners, they sent Jeff. We've got to give a shout out to Jeff.
That's right. Jeff, thank you for listening.
He enjoys listening to us at 3 in the morning when he's on the night shift.
I can't think of much worse, but I suppose it keeps him awake.
If it's not bad enough being down a mine at 3 in the morning in the cold, he's got us too.
He's just lucky he hasn't got the video.
Yeah, well, that's true. Well, if he gets this now, but it has been cold.
It's been freezing, and you know, it is the middle of winter, and
it is. Wow, the start of winter.
Well, I suppose, but it feels like the middle of winter.
It does, doesn't it?
It's pretty cold.
It's been really cold start too, hasn't it?
That's right. We were a bit lucky though, because apparently when it got really cold here and snowed, we were actually in Melbourne.
Missed the snow. Yes, we had our Harcourts Conference, Harcourts National Conference, which was really good actually.
Yeah, it was fantastic, and I think that's the thing. It's about always keeping yourself up to date. You can never learn too much.
Yeah, so 400 officers, we all come together for 2.5 days of fun and festivities, and a lot of learning though.
A lot of learning.
A lot of good speakers.
Yeah, and there were some really good ones. Some amazing people that actually, not always just about real estate, but about life as well.
Yeah,
which was
inspirational
really
stories, and makes us realise how lucky we are, aren't we?
Absolutely. Yeah. But maybe because we are in the middle of winter, I know you say some stuff, but in the middle of winter, maybe we should talk about some of the things that are relevant about winter.
Yeah, well, I've had a couple of people this week question whether it's a good or bad time to put the house on the market because it's so cold. And, you know, surely, Tim, no one goes out looking at houses at this time of year.
Yeah, look, I've heard the same thing. It is a bit of a fallacy.
We hear it each year, yeah.
Well, I had some good news from my son today, in fact, and he's about to move to Sydney.
Okay.
He's got a position with Qantas, and so therefore he's moving. So what's he going to be looking for?
Property.
Absolutely.
Well,
and I think that's the point. People just think because it's the good weather, there actually isn't as much competition as this time of year either. There are less listings that are around.
Yeah, so we come up against this, or not come up against it, but I ask this question every time this year, basically.
Yep.
A lot of people have the perception that spring is always the best time to sell. And look, spring is a good time to sell. Your garden looks good. It's 20 degrees. People
feel
are out
great.
and about. Yeah, they're in a better mood generally. But what happens in winter is there's generally a few less properties on the market because for whatever reason, people think that they don't want to put their house on the market in spring.
And it's even more. It's not just the competition from the properties.
Yeah.
People do more in spring and summer.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're in the winter, it's like, what should we do? Well, we might, I'll tell you what, I've got nothing else to do. Why don't we go and have a look at that house?
Yeah.
But if it's beautiful weather, you're thinking, geez, we could go down to the lake and have a picnic. We could, go and watch the... There is just so much more on, which takes away people's time. And often, great results are had in the middle of winter.
Well, some of my best results historically have been in August, which is crazy.
It's about the worst you can get here, isn't it?
Is the coldest you can get. So, I suppose to give people an understanding, what happens is you have less properties on the market for whatever reason. A few people don't put them on.
That's right. People are a bit scared sometimes.
You're still working with the same number of buyers. Now, if I think back to Year 10 economics, I remember I need a whiteboard. My
just paint one up there.
teacher, Mr. Bradshaw, I think it was, supply and demand, and he drew this line, and it's so simple. And one thing I sometimes say to people is, I don't think it's this simplistic, but when tomatoes are in season, are they more expensive or less expensive?
They're actually less expensive.
Yeah, because there's more of them.
There's more of them, and people are expecting them to be about. They're looking for them.
To some degree, that partly happens with real estate. I think it basically, in spring, they probably look a bit better, so maybe that balances out a little bit. But you've got the same number of buyers because, for instance, as you spoke about, your son
That's
who's
right.
moving. So
his job is now.
Yeah.
It's not in spring. It's not in summer. It's now.
So we sold a house today.
There you go.
They're not going to wait till spring to start looking. They're going to start looking tomorrow. So it's this continuous loop. And as an office, within 5%, we sell the same number of homes every month of the year. About one a day, roughly, 30 a month.
And that's right. And if you look at any particular street, it's about 10% of the properties go on the market all the time.
Yeah.
They're not all going to go on the market in spring.
No.
So if you look at that and think, well, it's got to be divided throughout the year, and people move for all different reasons.
Of course
it could be employment, it could be because they've had enough of the farm, because we're going back to one of the earlier podcasts, and you and the farm.
Yeah.
It's all sorts of reasons. And it doesn't really matter. They need to find the property that's right for them at that time.
Yep, and the one that the buyer buys, well, then that owner is then going, look, and it's just, as we say, it's just this
keeps on
cycles that goes round and round and round. So, take out a week either side of Christmas, which can be a bit strange. Outside of that, it's just a really constant cycle.
Left of centre too, there's good reason to purchase in winter. I've done it myself, and one of the reasons I remember, this is a bit off track, but one of my relatives in New Zealand, he used to always only buy properties in the winter because he wanted to know if it was a leaky house.
Oh, yeah.
You can't tell that. You can't tell that in the summer.
Yeah.
So generally, you're going to find out what's the insulation like because it's much more noticeable in a cold winter.
Yep.
You're going to see what are the grounds like. There's certain properties that go on the market in summer because they flood.
Yes. Yes, well, that's true.
So you've got all sorts of things. So when you start thinking about the whole gamut of what it means to live in a property, whether you're buying or even whether you're renting and moving into rent, you'll find probably more about the house in winter than you will in summer.
You normally see the bad bits. And a tip for sellers is whenever you're having an inspection and open home, make sure your house is super warm.
Oh, absolutely.
And normally warmer than it would normally be because people want to walk in and feel that warmth. And also the doors are going to get open and closed all the time.
That's right.
And no matter what, if a buyer walks into a house and it's freezing cold, they just feel really bad. It's like in summer, you want to make sure your house is cool when people walk in. And
there's another little tip that I've always thought's worked. The old one they used to say, have some scones in the oven.
Yes, well, that just for the agent, just for me, just so I can eat them. That's true.
But you walk in, and what's it make you feel like? It makes you feel like home. Yeah. You're not looking at a house anymore. You're looking at a home.
Well, a house last year in Ross Creek, I turned up to the open home, and the owner had this giant big pot of soup and all these cups.
How good's that?
And everyone who come to the open home got a cup of soup. It was fantastic.
I guarantee, though, if they went and looked at, say, 5 houses in the day, which one are they going to remember?
They remember it. Well, it sold, so it must have worked.
Exactly.
The soup sale.
I think the common sense is when you cut right to the quick.
Yep.
We don't stop living in winter.
No.
So we're still going to be buying houses.
Yeah.
We're still going to be looking for somewhere to move.
Yeah.
We're still going to be, some people like my son, getting opportunities which cause them to move.
Yeah. But I will premise by saying it is always still worth speaking to your agent because there is some properties, I went to one last week, where I actually said for a whole range of different reasons, they should wait till spring. They've got this absolutely amazing garden and
it will come alive.
And it's such a unique property that in spring there's not going to be competition anyway. So they should wait till then. So there's always examples, but
that's
99%
the
of
exception
the time.
to the rule type stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what rule, there's always an exception and a reason to go.
And always make sure you get some professional advice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But hopefully that sort of, if you're thinking
debunks
about
that myth, Mythbusters. We could be called Mythbusters.
We'll have a few new Harcourts Mythbusters.
Yeah,
You're making me do this funny thing with my mouth today. I don't know what it is, but anyway.
Okay.
But no, seriously, it would be bereft of ideas to think that there's only one way to do things at all times.
And it's always really important to selling any house. While we're talking about best time to sell, I always say is when people are ready.
That's
and
right.
Sometimes that's ready emotionally because I've seen it in the past where people don't really want to move and they put their house on the market and they get this amazing offer in the first 2 weeks and they say no because they really don't want to move.
Because they're not ready to it.
Yeah.
They're not ready to accept
emotionally.
it.
And then
when they are ready, that good offer's already gone.
And they end up taking, potentially 20 or 30
it's really interesting. Harcourts has a Welcome Home magazine. It's on our table here.
Yes.
For those who are listening, I'm describing it. What's on the front cover?
Yep, fire.
A fire. It's about that feeling
Symbolic
of warmth and how everything goes.
Yeah, so when you're ready, and a lot of the time that is emotionally, especially if you've been in a house for a long time.
Absolutely.
And also when you've got your house presented really well. And you can have a house presented really well in winter, spring, summer, autumn, it doesn't matter when, but whenever you've got it's decluttered, we've got plenty of information we can give people about that. But presentation, I strongly believe a house can make between 10 and 20% difference. Yeah. And when you're selling a house for, 3, 4, 5, 6, 700,000, that's a lot of money.
We've seen it plenty of times where you think, gee, they haven't really given themselves the best chance here.
Yeah. Yep.
But it's something that I think you should always be looking at. And one of the things that we do, and this includes on whether you're selling a home or renting a home, we're very happy to come out and give, if you're not sure, should you do this or should you do that?
Yeah, we get it all the time.
We'll go out there, and there's no cost involved in that. But what it means is sometimes you'll get there and they go, I was going to do that. And you go, well, that's not going to make any difference.
You don't need to do it.
You're spending money and it's not going to make a change.
Yeah.
And then they might be overlooking something. I had a question today at a property that I was looking at, and they haven't put it's a brand new one. So they haven't
for rental?
Yeah, for rental.
Yes.
And they're asking, well, it's a 4-bedroom home. What's the Hills hoist? Should we put that in? Clothesline. I couldn't think of it. I'd lost it. Should we put one of those normal ones? And we came up with a thing that if in the middle of winter, and this comes back with that sort of thing, it's not uncommon if you've got a family of say 2 or 3, that a rotary clothesline will hold 3 loads of washing compared to 1 load.
I've got a ginormous one at home. Yeah.
It's things like that, and sometimes just that came up because of the weather and well, what would you do if you were a family? So little things like that might only cost you very little difference, but it will appeal to a family rather than just a couple.
Yeah.
So there's all sorts of things that can come into the fact.
Well, the other thing I wanted to talk about, or ask you about, Mark, given this is your area of expertise, is rental application, tenant applications. I was speaking to a friend of a friend who sold their house and they're going to rent for a little while. Yes. And they sort of asked about the process, which I sort of explained, but I probably need to learn a bit more myself about the actual process and the do's and don'ts, I suppose. So maybe if we can run through that for 5 minutes.
Yeah, look, I think this is a really good question because I think people understand that if you're going to get ready to purchase a home, there's a whole heap of things that you would get in line
which we spoke
ready
about,
to do it. So applying for rental property is the same, especially at the moment when you've got Ballarat's just actually gone out to 0.8% vacancy. Okay. It's been sitting at 0.7. It still means that it's just gone to 0.9. So we've had a little bit of a weakening. But when I say that still means for every property, 100 properties, there's only less than one that's available.
Yeah.
So if you think of it that way, so for every 100 properties, there's less than one.
Yeah.
If you don't have your application organised and there's missing gaps to it, that's where you can have a problem. So generally the first thing, and this is going to sound really obvious, don't lie.
Okay.
It's amazing how many times you'll get there and they will put a reference down that's supposedly a work reference, and when you do the investigation, because you need to make sure that those references are right.
Yeah, because
it's a friend.
We will ring them as the agent to check them out. Yeah.
And it turns out to be a friend. Now that's not a problem if you said it was a friend.
Yeah.
But it is a problem if you said it's a work reference.
Yeah.
Because right from that very moment you decide, well, okay, they're not going to be reliable.
Yeah.
You need to have. It's not just fair enough to say that you work somewhere. You need to have a basis that we can ring up to find out where you work.
Yep.
And that may be too. Conversely, if you don't work and you're going to have to rely on an agency, for instance, to help support the bond, but you might be right in everywhere else. There might be a very good reason. You may have an issue that's precluding you from work now, but it doesn't preclude you from living in a home. But you get that organised so that when the question's asked, well, where's the bond going to come from?
Yeah.
If you haven't got those savings, have you actually gone to either Centrelink or to, I know that Centre Care and a few of those places do a thing. Get yourself ready, because the last thing you want is that the person is willing to accept you even though you're not working, and then you're not ready. because generally there will be applications that are there right from the start. So I think it's
just be upfront and
absolutely. If you're not working, you're not working. There's no point in by saying anything.
We'll
different.
find out,
absolutely,
and then with our checks, and then you're in a worse position.
And it's important for you to know that we will check things like Facebook. If you've got some stuff there that really you don't think will
parties
preclude
every
you,
Saturday night,
absolutely.
maybe. Yeah.
You've got holes in the wall where you've had a bit too much fun and put it. I don't think that's a very good idea to have that on your Facebook. So it's about getting yourself ready so that when you're looked at, that you look right and you look like who you say you are.
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting you get dressed in a suit to go to an inspection, but bear in mind, a property manager, for instance, will be looking at your appearance and your behaviour from the moment you step near the property. So when you decide, I'm going to have a look at that property, don't turn up in your dungarees or whatever it might be. Yeah. Make sure that you're dressed.
Well, it all helps. It's a little bit like, in a strange way, it's a little bit like a job interview, isn't it?
It's exactly like a job interview. Yeah. There are a series of questions and nobody's perfect, so nobody's expecting you to be perfect. However, you don't want to be projecting something that is going to make it easy for the person to say, look, we don't want them. I mean, the laws are very clear that you cannot discriminate by sex, disability, race, religion, all of those things. But on the other token, there are very many times where people let themselves down because they're not presented well. Yeah. They don't wish to talk to the agent. The best thing you can do is talk to the agent. Because the agent's going to be the one that's going to be making a decision of whether to put you forward to the owner.
So I think one misconception from people I sometimes speak to, though, Mark, is that the end decision is the owner's decision. So the agent will collate all the data and they'll ring the owner and go, look, we've got 3 applications, all the background information. And it's the owner's decision as to who they choose.
Absolutely. Yeah. And owners will have a different idea of how much or how little they want to be involved. Some of them will say, just let me know when you've got the right one. Yeah. And we'll just tick off. Yep. We'll say whether they're acceptable or not. Yep. Then there's others who'll say, look, can you get the best 2 or 3, and we'd like to make that final decision. Yeah. At the end of the day, it's the owner's asset is the home. So if they wish to make that decision, they will. Yeah. But in every circumstance, if the agent has a reason not to put you forward, they are not going to put you forward. Yeah. So think about that as where you need to impress right from the start.
And the other thing I would, I suppose, lead on from there, Mark, is, again, it's probably in your best interest if you do miss out. So, if there's 20 applications, only one person can get it. You're not going to share the house with someone.
That's absolutely right. Especially not when we're at 0.9%.
So if you find out that you've missed out, don't give the agent too much of a hard time. 1, it wasn't really their decision, and 2, be nice, so they might be able to get you in the next one.
I can tell you that the agent will remember the person who says to them, look, I'd just like to know what's the reason that I wasn't chosen. Was there any particular reason? Because there may be no reason. It may be that they were close and not there. And then if you talk to that agent and say, well, look, this is what I'm really looking for. I'm a serious person. If there's nothing that really precludes me, can you think of me? Because sometimes we will get to the situation where they won't be advertised. They'll actually be, because what happens is, I can tell you, we've got 13 odd people in our property management department out there, and they will talk. Even if somebody's missed out, they go, look, I really would have liked to have given these people that property because they're really good. They were just really unlucky because there was a tenant that was more suited for that particular property.
Or the owner chose.
But I really was impressed by these people, and I'd actually like to find them something. Does anybody have something that's coming up that might suit those people?
And they also speak to other agencies within Ballarat. So
it's the one thing that's quite universal, and people think that you can hide, you've had a bad area. I can tell you that every agent will ring the previous place that they've leased before, and there is no doubt if you leave under bad circumstance, abuse the agent, it's not going to be beneficial.
No. And applications, online, paper-based, how do we put an application?
Generally, look, you can do either. Here, we tend to have a system which works that you actually register for an open house if it was that way. Yep. And then if you attend that open house, because some people, I don't know why, because I think this is not a good idea either. If you're not going to attend, let them know for the same reason that we spoke about. But once they've attended, if they think that you haven't been precluded at that stage, you will actually get an application emailed to your email. So you'll actually get it.
Oh, easy.
But not everybody has an email, and not everybody is, of the email age. So there is nothing precluding you coming into the office and filling in an application. But it can be, a lot of it's actually now capable of being done electronically.
Yeah, well, it's easier.
And it is very easy because it
environment.
actually comes up with all the right spots, and off you go, and it can process there. Because you will need some ID. That's something that's fairly important. But it's just at the final stage you might have to show a hard copy. But you can go through the application process right from the start. Okay. So you will get an application. You go forward. That will ask you the questions that are relevant. So it will ask you for your references. It will ask you, are you employed? It will ask you, have you rented before? There's another one that's really interesting there. We sometimes get people, you mentioned earlier, somebody sold a home, they've never rented before.
They've got no references.
They've got no references. That doesn't preclude you, because owning your own home for 10 years is actually a good reference.
And sometimes I've had a lot of people ask me if they can put me down as a reference, and I'm like, absolutely. And I'll just tell whether it's our office, another office, how the home was presented, what they like to work with, all those sorts of things.
That's right. And again, it's just being open about it. As long as you say it, the reference is what you say it is. If it's somebody who has no idea of the way that you've ever kept a home, I don't really know you, well, they're not going to be much use as a reference. So it's about that information, getting all the information that you require and having it ready, and making sure that you really do want that home too. I think that's important. Some people will try a scattergun approach. I don't think that helps.
Put in 20 applications and then...
No. It doesn't help. If you're not going to be right, and then you get to think, I've seen them before.
And
we didn't say yes to them. So think about it. You wouldn't, if it's not going to be right for you, don't go through the process or take up the time of going through the process.
I think there's some good ideas in there.
It's just something that we don't always talk about.
Taps into I think there's a whole couple episodes we can probably do on bonds and vacates and rent arrears and I think maybe rights and responsibilities, and it's going to change a bit with some legislation
I've
coming
actually
in
already looked a lot at the changing of the new act, and probably there's some things that I think that are really interesting about that we could talk further down the track as it gets closer. There's been some media about some of the changes that have frankly just not really true. Not when you get to the bottom of it. But let's leave that for another episode.
And finally, Mark, before we go, we've got, well, actually we don't have a new Prime Minister, but we had an election since we last spoke, didn't we?
Look, I think we mentioned that I don't know what you think, but isn't it amazing how everything... It doesn't seem to matter who gets in, by the way, but everything is happening again. The property market has been so much more buoyant.
2 weeks, or it might have been almost 3, that, you can just tell, especially in Melbourne, some results coming out of Melbourne, it's actually sort of inject growth.
Never get it.
I know rates, the Reserve Bank dropped rates by 0.25% today, but
basically
in
history.
I think hopefully the economy gets going again, which is just good for everyone.
Look, absolutely. And I think it's the fact that once again now people know what they've got, and that sort of ties into what we were saying earlier.
People want certainty.
Just want to know what you're doing.
All right, well, I think that's been good, Mark.
No worries at all. Lovely to see you again.
Episode 4 done.
Hopefully those people who look at the video part are not too upset with the way we look.
We'll see how we go.
We can't do anything about that.
We are who we are.
But again, if there's anything that you want to hear out there, please let us know.
Keep the feedback coming. We love feedback,
I still can't believe that we've got the underground. I think that's just fantastic. So actually, that would be interesting. Let's try and get some...
where are you listening?
Where are you listening from?
Where are you listening?
Are you up on a silo? Are you on a wind farm? Because there's wind farms everywhere.
I know someone who listened on a flight from Abu Dhabi. So there you go. On the airplane, listen to, I think it was episode 2. There you go. So we're worldwide.
Oh, no, that's just fantastic.
All right. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening, and we'll talk again soon.
Bye.